I love this question. Everything starts in tracking. At first, even pre-production, I check if the composition is right, if there is any low-end clashing, if something feels funny already in the demo, then I give some arrangement tips or take something out or talk with the band. This is number one, pre-production. Then when we are recording, I choose exactly the right mics, what I'm looking for, how I position the band, where I position the band in the room. I ask the band, how much room sound do you want? And I have a list in advance which instruments we're going to record. So if it's a record studio or office or wherever I'm doing it in a mud house, in a clay house in Morocco or wherever, I always know which instruments in advance, and I'm planning ahead. Like, this is this frequency range, so I should take this and this mic, packing it with me. And then I'm always checking for phase because I don't want to fix something later in the mix, especially phasing issues. It's difficult, and you will never get the recording, the result that the band deserve, especially when they are playing live. So there's a lot of thought into recording. We had this band Bondeco. They came from America to Albania. We rented a villa in Albania and transformed this villa. I was driving 1,500 kilometers with my van, and I never saw this place. We had 7 days to make the record, and there was a lot of reverb and different dynamics of the instruments. So I had to see where do I position them until I had the right sound and in phase. And this took me a half day. But then they were super happy with it.
This is the Self-Recording Band Podcast, the show where we help you make exciting records on your own, wherever you are, DIY style. Let's go. Hello and welcome to the Self-Recording Band Podcast. I'm your host, Benedikt Hein. If you are new to this show, welcome. So stoked to have you. If you are already a listener, welcome back. Always glad to have you. And so stoked that you're hanging out with us again. Now, today is another interview episode, and a very special one because our friend Ady is joining us. He was already on the podcast a while ago. We interviewed him at Studioszene 2023 in Hamburg, and this time he is back in our, usual, normal podcast setting, and I'm very excited about this. We've asked our community to send us questions for Ady, so this will at least partly be a Q&A episode. We also have our own questions and topics that we want to cover, of course, because so much has happened since we last talked. And for example, Ady was involved in starting a recording school in Morocco, which is quite the spectacular project. So I have questions about that. And he also introduced us to a couple of really exciting people during these last couple of months, which I am forever grateful for. So thank you, Ady, for those introductions.
Oh, man.
And so I'm glad we met last year, and I'm super stoked to have him back. If you don't know who Ady is, check out Hit the Road's music studio, Hit the Road Music Studio. That's his project. His full name is Ady Parzentny. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yeah, one of the few. It was really good.
And Ady's a traveling music producer. He's worked with a lot of exciting artists from all over the world. Usually we talk about US bands and European musicians. Ady has worked in all kinds of countries and has done some really cool remote sessions. Sometimes he lives with artists for a couple weeks or months in a remote area. So really, really interesting guy, really, really interesting project. Welcome to the show. Here is Ady Parzentny for you.
Hi,
Ady.
Yeah, welcome, Ady.
Hey, how's it going? Thank you so much for having me back. Absolutely love your podcast, guys.
Thanks so much.
You.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, it's great to be seeing you again.
Yeah, totally. Thank you for taking the time also to do this. I know you've already done a workshop for our coaching community, and you've done so much for us in the meantime, and I'm very excited that you're taking the time again, and now we're doing this open Q&A with our community, so this is great.
Man, I'm so excited for the questions from the open community, because I think you built a really beautiful community together. The one call with the private coaching community, it was very exciting and eye-opening. I also love to make these Q&As because I'm learning from it as well.
Awesome. That's so cool. Yeah, before we dive into this, we always have a little bit of a banter in the beginning usually where we just share what happened, last week or what we've done, because this is the one call that Malcolm and I also get to just chat to each other, which is always fun. So I'm just going to involve you in this, Ady. And so I wanted to ask you, how was your week or the last couple of months really since we last talked? What happened in your life? Just give us an update since we met it now.
So many things happened, I moved to Germany. So the current update is I'm waiting for my papers as a freelancer here to, just start the business here again. And this week, after all the paperwork, I think I filled out over 140 documents. After all the paperwork, now all my friends from all the bands are touring through Germany. So I was visiting the band New and Afrobeat. Is one of my favorite bands from Chile. And we just hang out until night. This was exactly what I needed after, this up and down time. The last few months, they were a little bit challenging. But I've been on a UK tour with the artist Odelia. This was also incredible. Just preparing for a gig next week. And yesterday I went to Eva Ion. A friend of mine made sound for her. I think she's now 56. Now I'm in Germany. The numbers are changing all the time. Because you say the other number, it's 56 years she's in the business, making music. She's from Peru. And this concert was hot yesterday. It was incredible in Frankfurt. And I just love to see all my friends, welcome them. And it's a very exciting time, a nice summer.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Where in Germany have you moved, Ady?
Close to Mannheim at the moment. It's now temporarily before I go to Morocco again in November. And
Mannheim is like western, like on the western part of Germany, closer to like the opposite side of where I am. I'm close to the Czech Republic, and Mannheim is closer to like France, the other side of Germany, basically.
Yeah.
Really, awesome. Really cool. And I don't know if I remember correctly, but you've been in Germany before, right? I thought you had a band or like some project or studio or something here already.
You know what? I grew up in Germany. I was born in Poland, but I grew up here. And I haven't been here for the past 12 years. I'm back after 12 years, traveling the world. So even before we had cameras or anything, I was traveling already. I was with Cynthia and Romas in Serbia, just playing, for the joy of it, and living in the Balkans for many years. I think I spent 3 years of my life in Albania and Kosovo, and but it wasn't filmed, so people don't believe me. But now everybody's asking, like, from all the countries. What?
There's enough proof now. I think there's so many videos from you from all over the world. So
definitely, and now I got always the question, like, from all the countries in the world, why did you move to Germany? Everybody's asking me, like, when I told them I move out from Poland, it's like, where do you go? Bahamas, Jamaica, Mexico? I said, no, Germany.
And so what's the answer to this?
I traveled so much. I'm not old now, I'm 35, but I feel like I can be happy anywhere. And now I'm closer to my family. I became uncle, got a cute nephew at home. I'm now it's just 3 hours drive and I'm back in Cologne by my family. So this is very beautiful. I have wonderful musical projects here.
That's great.
And man, I'm just satisfied.
Awesome. But you're still traveling, right? The traveling just won't stop, I guess.
I'm living close to an airport. I will not deny that.
Yeah. That's cool. Awesome.
Speaking of airplanes, Benny, got some banter to discuss with you, buddy. I open up Instagram, there's a photo of my buddy Benny flying through the air because he jumped out of a plane like a crazy person.
Yep, did that last week. Bucket list item again. I want to do a couple of these things now. I don't know. I'm on a roll. Like I've got to do a couple of exciting things, and one of them was last week. I decided to do a skydive. I've never done that. I always wanted to do it, and so I jumped out of a plane, which was awesome. It was like more than a minute of free fall, so 4,500 meters, a minute of free fall, and then the ride with the parachute, and that was awesome.
Very cool. Wow. Very cool. And you loved it?
Totally. Like a buddy of mine is jumping a lot. Like he can do like solo jumps. He's done more than 100 at this point, far more. He also does like wingsuit jumps and stuff like this. So he's one of those crazy people. And there was this like skydiving festival an hour from here. And so he said like, he's camping there and there's a lot of people jumping. And if I want to come and spontaneously join, and I'm like, sign me up. And I expected there to be like 10 people in a couple of tents, and it was like this huge festival with thousands of people and like, all these food trucks and tents and music and whatnot. Oh, cool. And it's like competitions and like all day, every day, these planes were just going up and up and up, and like people were just jumping all the time. Pretty crazy to watch also. And I went there and did it.
Fun.
That's so cool.
I'm happy for you, dude. That's a good thing to do.
Yeah. It was like, those were one of these, 10 minutes or so where you just can't think of anything else, which is so good for the mind sometimes, where it's just impossible to think about anything negative. You're just in the moment as much as you can. So
wow.
Totally. That's so cool. Ady, you ever jumped out of a plane?
Not yet, but I put it on my bucket list.
Yeah, me neither. It's something I want to do too.
Yeah, really, do it. Honestly, it's really cool. Really, really cool.
That's cool.
Anyway, what's going on in your world, Malcolm? What was happening? Your trip was delayed, so what are you doing instead now?
I'm getting more YouTube videos prepped. I'm leaving on. I better tell the listeners now because I will definitely be absent for some podcast episodes. But I'm leaving on a new reality TV show that I'm doing sound on pretty soon for like 5 weeks or something.
Oh.
So heads up on that. But up until then, I'm just like trying to cram as much YouTube videos in so that I don't miss anything there. And thank you, Ady, for some introductions to good people in that world. That's been very helpful, by the way. And did a wedding on the weekend. Yeah, life's been good. Life's been very good. Doing some filming. It's been awesome.
Well, I saw some absolutely gorgeous, like looking wildlife photography that you've done, like some really cool shots of eagles and stuff. So
got some really fun wildlife encounters lately. It's been awesome.
Yeah,
been digging it.
Cool.
Wow.
Ady, I wanted to point something out that is kind of cool to think about before we jump into a bunch of questions for you. But it's crazy because we almost didn't meet you in Hamburg last year. You weren't originally going to be on the show with us at that conference, but then a scheduling change had to be made, and next thing you know, we're being introduced to you. And I think you're probably the person that Benny and I have kept the most in touch with out of that entire conference.
Really?
And we almost didn't cross paths. How crazy is that?
It's so crazy. I just told the story last week to a friend that I was just at the right time at the right moment because the organizer, Mark Bohn, he was there.
Stuff.
And I shouldn't even be at the Studioszene. This is the best thing. I wasn't planned in,
so
you know.
wild.
I just offered them because I've been a year earlier, and I know Mark Bohn for a longer time, maybe 4 years. And I saw he was a bit stressed because some mentors, they didn't came. So for this year, I said, I would love to come. I have my presentation anyway with me. So if somebody is out, I can jump in. So just as a backup.
There you go.
And then he said, hey man, it's a really cool offer from you. Why don't you open the event? And then later I saw him. I was standing there, and exactly at this moment, I think Moritz Enders should be on your podcast. It came the message like, hey, he's not there. Do you have somebody? And I was like, I can do it. He's like, yeah, okay, you got Ady. And this is how we met. Yeah. And for me, this is incredible.
Perfect.
And wow. Actually, we met even at NAMM now. And now when you're saying like with all the connections, you know, for me, it's so natural. I see now you have the Kali Audio shirt also. And for me, it's so natural because you're all friends of mine, you know. So I think like, hey, you should meet Nate. You should meet Charles and these guys because it will be interesting. I love it. This is why I'm doing this. So happy that
totally.
That
Just for our listeners to know, like Lars Deutsch, who we had on the podcast, this was an introduction that Ady made. The Kali Audio guys that I've visited at their headquarters, this was an introduction from you. The Audient guys as well, you know, and now Josh from Tiny Desk, who's going to be on the show soon. So that's, you know, all these cool people that we have met through you. So yeah, totally crazy to think about that this was an accident actually, or like a last minute thing. I didn't even remember that, but yeah, you're right. Totally right.
Yeah. I love that stuff.
Yeah, me too.
Cool. Like, that was meant to happen.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So let's jump into this. I'd say we got a couple of questions here, and should we just start with the audience questions because I really want to get through those, or how do we do this? I think so, right?
Yeah, well, you know, I think I want to just talk about the school right away. I just can't wait.
Let's do this. We already teased it.
Let's go. Absolutely.
Like, give us the origin story of like what the school is for our listeners who might not know, and where this idea came from.
Man, this is, I think, one of the most exciting projects I ever did. And, you know, after we recorded in Morocco for 2 years, I always got new messages. Dear Mr. Ady, when are you coming back with the van? I have a band also. I need some support in the desert. And
do they call you Dear Mr. Ady?
Yeah, because they use Google Translate, and it's like a Sidi Ady. Sidi Ady translated from Arabic to is like Mr. Ady, and I'm getting all the messages.
That's awesome.
I love that. And you know, after we left Morocco, I think we did over 120 recordings there in these 2 years. And after we left Morocco, I was thinking, really, did we really make some support, some long-term support, or did I gain the most from it? Or what's happening? You know, now I'm very happy to see a couple of bands. We just got the visas for another band that we recorded. They're playing now a Europe tour. They just arrived today in Poland. This is definitely cool because this cultural exchange through music can happen. But I wanted to do something on the long term. And I had this idea to, teach somebody, bring this equipment. I got more and more partner companies. So I thought, if everybody just give a little bit, we can have a studio together and maybe can raise the sound quality in Morocco, teach them how to use it. And I, after a while, will just go. So I had this idea for a year, but I didn't know how to do it. I was a little bit scared because I made like a big goal in my head. Maybe I need 20,000 euros, maybe 30,000. How will I get it? So I was scaring myself to make the first step until I had so many commercial projects. And one of them, it should be 1 month work. And it turned out to be 9 months of work with like 400 multi-tracks per track. And it just never finished. And I thought I have to do something again that give me this feeling of, the sense of exchange to also give something back. So I said, let's just make a fundraiser. I just buy a computer. The rest I will organize somehow. Some mics. We will get it, but we have to start somewhere. So I just made the fundraiser this February for like $1,800. And you guys were also part of it. Thank you so much. This really helped. I think
our pleasure.
You were the first one, Malcolm.
Was that?
Yeah, and then people saw that somebody is giving, and then it just, after 10 days, we were full with the fundraiser. And I'm like, oh my God. The cool thing was we have a building there from a local community. They are very involved into the local arts. So I started to write to all my partner companies. I went to NAMM, talking with all the companies there. Hey, can we have an interface? Can we have this and that? Later, we partnered up with UJam and Peter Gorges. I think the founder of UJam is Pharrell Williams and Hans Zimmer and Peter. They just made it. They sent us plugins. So I started to write to plugin companies. Native Instruments is with us now. They sent us 3 computers to make a real school out of it. MIDI keyboards, DJ sets, Native Complete. So they can also compose there. And it just got more and more and more. And after a month, we had everything to start the school. So in November, I got the flight from the 4th November until the 6th December. And the idea is to educate 2 guys, Mustafa and Ahmed, and teach them how to record, how to use this stuff, how to maintain it, how to use the DAW, and how to record properly. And then the next year will be mixing training. And I hope after 2 years that they can maintain this place on their own. I don't want to be in the middle anymore. I just want to, because they have a barrier to get the equipment. There is, I think, only Yamaha is the only distributor there. And Yamaha is the only distributor. And because of that, because of local taxes, you have to pay up to 30 to 40% more for equipment. So a pair of speakers start to become $800, $900 in an average earning of 200 to 400 euros in this country. So it's impossible. So I just got all my connections together and we got equipment now worth 45,000 euros with plugins and everything, and can start the school to educate not 4 but 3 people with the 3 iMacs we got from Native. And I bought a Mac Mini and get the sound isolation and to get everything right there and pay the taxes for the import, of course. So
awesome. And those people you're educating now, they are going to be the teachers then to teach even more people, right? That's the plan, basically.
Exactly. So I can disappear. It won't be the Ady Parzentny School of Music in Morocco. It's all 100% about the guys, that they learn, that they have a place. There is a funny story because I was producing this one band, Tasut Animal. You remember the story with the hawk coming into the record studio?
Yes.
So we had to make some corrections with the vocals. So Hassan said, the vocalist, he said, I will drive 250 kilometers to a record studio, record these 2 words new. It was just a poem at the end and 2 words in the local language. They had to be right, but they weren't. So he drove half day to the record studio, recorded this word like 10 times, slept overnight there. Next day he came back, sent me the files, and it sounded terrible. It sounded terrible, like somebody would be in a bathroom, and there was a lot of reverb, like the mic would be like far away from here, and then he's just whispering the 2 words into it. This is how the sound file sounded. So I said, I have to do something right now to just help to raise the standard, show something, teach them. And at the end, I hope they will be self-sufficient at the end.
I'm sure that's going to be amazing. And it's great that you have a place to do this there, that they're able to source a building for you, I guess.
We got 2 buildings now even. So we can make a separate record studio, and this will be free of charge for the local musicians. And the other one will be only the school. So this is really cool.
And how And how does the all the finances and stuff work for that? If you say, I mean, it's so cool that it's like free of charge for the locals, but how do you maintain it? How do you eventually pay the people who run the place? And like, how does this all work? Or is it all volunteers and like?
There will be definitely some volunteering. We have incredible mentors, like also Peter Gorges, the founder of UGM. He said he will mentor. SonarWorks said they're going to give mentorship and masterclasses. And even friends of mine said they want to fly there for a month and teach. So we have 4 teachers from other countries. This is the cool thing. The other thing is, this is an official association, an organization for the cultural development in Morocco that I'm working with. So they will get the final finances from the government to at least pay the people, you know, because, okay, one thing is I bring all the stuff, but they still invest their time, and so they have to be compensated as well.
Totally. Such a cool project, though. Imagine like a free, like what that can do for the culture, for the society, like for the local community there, that there's a place where people can record their art for free, and then also at a standard that was previously not possible, obviously. So that's such a cool thing. Amazing.
Let's cross fingers. Let's cross fingers. I'm so excited for it. Yeah. It gave me life
and you
back.
Said
you know? It's amazing.
You said that it's November when you're going back there?
Yeah, 4th November until 6th December I will be there. So people can join me as well. And we have already local musicians to record there. So I can show them immediately how it works. Of course, many people ask me, hey, when will it be ready to record? When will it be ready that people can teach? You have to imagine, they know almost nothing about it. So we're going to start really by the basics. This is an XLR cable. This is the mic. These are the mic positions. This is a condenser mic. This is a dynamic mic. These are the differences. So we're going to experiment and make it hands-on.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Really, really cool.
I'm so excited.
Are you going to document all of that as well so that you have, because if you're teaching already, you might as well just document it so that you can show it to more people after the fact so you don't have to repeat yourself? Is that something you're going to do?
I would love to, but I'm honest to you now. I made 4 documentaries from our travels and it's just so much work. And I would love to give 100% into the education. It doesn't even have to be an entertaining thing, you know. It don't have to be something that goes viral all around the world. I really just want to focus to spend time with them and educate them. If there is a camera team, there will be definitely somebody who will film the opening maybe, or let's see. But documenting all of this, cutting it later, getting it out, making a YouTube video. For me, I don't even want to be the star in this, you know. I don't care. I know people now. No. I was really lucky also, you know, that Warren Hewart called me, that I could go to LA, that I had the support to do what I do. And now I just want to give it back. And I don't know if I have to film it or not.
No, I more so meant not for content, but I meant like when you're there teaching the first couple of people, just, you know, filming that without like editing and fancy stuff, just so that they can watch it again and then also show it to other people. That's just something I learned from the coaching that I do, is that I just document everything. And also whenever I hire somebody and explain how things work, I always document it so that when I hire a new person, I don't have to repeat myself and I can show it to them and also they can review it. That's more what I meant.
This is
because if the goal for you is to like not be involved all the time, I would probably, you know, capture everything that you teach them and make it available for them later, basically. That's what I thought.
That's amazing. That's an amazing idea. I should do this.
Yeah.
I should do this. I have to find a way to make it. I could just put the camera up and find a local hard drive because internet is not so good there. And just make it accessible for everyone. This is a wonderful idea. This is why I love to talk about this, you know, because I'm always getting new ideas and a fresh perspective on it. That's amazing, man. Thank you.
You're welcome, of course. Man, that project is really, really exciting. I can't wait to hear an update in fall. And so really excited for you. And this is, you know, you made an impact for sure.
Thank you for making it possible. You guys too made an impact.
I guess that means that if you're going early November, we're going to be seeing you right before that in Hamburg, Germany for Studioszene, I hope.
Exactly. I will be in Hamburg, and after Hamburg I drive, because I got my flight tickets from Poland now, so I have to drive back to Warsaw, 1,000 kilometers, and then take the flight. I didn't plan it to move before. All right. But if anybody still want to be a part of the project, I put a very, let's say, low fundraiser with $1,800. We got the Mac Mini, and we paid the taxes and everything. And there is the fundraiser is still open. So if anybody want to contribute, the more we gather, the better we can make this place. So maybe I can give you the GoFundMe link, and if anybody's interested to be part of it, anyhow, just let me know.
Perfect. Yeah, you will find all the links in the show notes and also in the description. So if you're not aware, this is a podcast and a YouTube video. So if you're listening on a podcast app right now, you can also go to YouTube. And in the video description, you're going to find Ady's links. And then in the podcast show notes, there's definitely going to be all the links. So if you go to the selfrecordingband.com/225, this is the number of this episode, you're going to be at the show notes page, and all the links are there. So we just collect everything after the fact from you, Ady, and then people can contribute.
That's so kind, man. Thank you so much.
Awesome. All right. So, shall we get to the questions? I'm sure we're gonna.
I think
some
so.
of these are kind of related to that, anyways. I think let's jump to the audience questions.
Now I'm excited.
Great. Cool. So the first one is from Matthias, and he asks, this is like, it's interesting about these questions. I have to say this. Some of these are technical and like recording related, but some of these are also about like other things, like the business side of things, or like things, that not just purely technical. So I'm excited. Let's see.
I love those.
So he says, Matthias says, do you help the artists you're working with promote their music as well? Like, is there anything you do beyond the production?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And the best, before I work with an artist, I always have a client call, and I'm asking also, what's your marketing budget? What is your idea? Where do you want to go with your band? And to understand their vision. So when they want to move on further in their musical career and say, hey, I would love to play like gigs for 300 to 500 people. Of course, I'm there, man. I have to make content as well, so I'm making like reels. Hey, let's look into the production parts. Why did we use this synthesizer and so on? This is always exposure for the artist as well as for me, because we are sharing our audiences now. So we both have something from it. When we are making reels about working with each other, I love to do this stuff. If artists have questions on how to promote, either I recommend them a social media manager, somebody who can help them, how to run ads, and how to make it the best way. I'm not the best in it. I'm having now also a social media marketing team, finally. I was looking for it for a long, long time. And now I have a really reliable team. And I always, sometimes there is also a fear in artists. Does it make any sense if I invest into myself? Will I get it back one day? So I'm taking them a little bit the fear and just say, hey, let's just try, Let's just try to do something. And then you see what works, what won't work. But if you just take one step, something will happen, and you will know if you have to correct a step into another direction or if it's nothing for you. And I love to do these things because, for me, it's also very important to be part of this project with the client, to walk this path together. Yeah. Good things can happen through it, always.
Totally. I saw the footage from the project you mentioned earlier. Odelia is her name? Odelia, yeah. I saw a lot of footage from that, which always looked great. And like you're obviously in my bubble, so I see your posts and everything, but there was no chance that I could have missed this. Like, it was all the time I saw new stuff from her and from you, and like that was really cool to see. It was all high quality content, and now you're going on tour with her even, so you're doing way more than just the production, I guess. Right?
We are like brother and sister, and we met at the Studioszene. This is insane. We met at the Studioszene, and since then we went together to LA, we went together to the UK. And she and her wife, they have a social media marketing agency. So they have cameras here worth like 40,000. And they teach me a lot how to make social media, how to run social media. She's doing all the work. Man, she's filming it, she's cutting it, or her wife is cutting it, Sabrina, storyteller. And that's how they are called, storyteller content creation. And you can see this content is made from the heart, because we are really thinking like, what will be the next video? How can we promote it? Because we have plans with it. It's her project after a long time where she's making the music that she wants to do. And for me, this is music in my ears. It's very difficult sometimes to find artists who are already so long on this path. She's making it for 20 years now. And to have somebody who finally have the self-esteem to say, I'm going to do my project, then I'm 100% in. 100% in. And this is why you see so much content with us together. We spent also a lot of time together, and just filmed it. We are reminding each other, hey, is the camera running during the process? And yeah, it also opened my eyes, because I got a little bit lazy on my Instagram. And yeah, she helped me a lot with this. So thanks for noticing.
Yeah, really cool. And I also noticed that some of the bands you work with, like the band from Morocco, for example. And by the way, Ady was kind enough to give us a full course for our coaching community that you filmed in Morocco, recording and mixing this band, which is awesome. And we have it now in our courses area for the people in the coaching.
Oh, that's so cool.
And that band has like hundreds of thousands of YouTube views, right? And, like that's pretty like remarkable. So
I was blown away. I was blown away. When I made my first Morocco trip in 2018, I had no clue. I was a Rasta guy. I had like dreadlocks and just said, hey, let's jump into the car. I have 8 mics. Let's see what happened. And then I recorded like 14 songs in 6 days. One of them was a big orchestra. I just put it out on YouTube and it got like 250,000 views. I'm like, what the heck? And there was no ad budget. Like on my YouTube, there is 0 ad budget. It just went in a way viral. Like this one band, Tasut Animal, that is now playing Europe. I think we have 650,000 views on this one. And in total, we reached out to over 4 or 5 million listeners already.
Wow.
That's fantastic.
It's beautiful because there the music speaks again. And oh man, I love this.
Yeah, so cool. Great, thank you for this answer. The next one kind of goes like we can throw yours in there as well, Malcolm. You had a question about Ady's networking skills in general because it's so organic for him but so effective. Like you put that in there, and you probably have some more questions or thoughts around this. But the next question from the audience is from Danielle or Daniele. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce it. Daniele says, how do you get all these brand partnerships? I see you're working with Audient and Kali Audio and Olo and more. Mm-hmm. What exactly are they doing for you and what are you doing in return? And this is, again, part of the networking conversation. That's why I said this is leads naturally into your question as well, Malcolm. So I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll just give it a little preface is that, Ady, you're like one of the most personal people I've ever ran into. And you're definitely, I think I could say you're one of the... If you're not first, you're second on the most positive people I've ran into as well. I've only seen smiles on your face 100% of the time, and it's infectious. You're a lot of fun to be around and talk to, or even just see online. It travels through the camera, which is fun as well.
Oh, thank you so much, man.
But you know everyone. Every time I've talked to you, you've been like, oh, you should talk to so and so, my friend. Whoever, and they know a lot about whatever you're asking about. You've kind of got like this network of friends that are experts in all these different areas, and I think that's amazing. And I think you come by it so honestly. I don't think any part of you was like, I need to know this person because they're good at this. It was just that you happened to you were interested in somebody, you became their friend, and it turns out they're good at that. And you're the best case of just an organic networker. And I would love to know if you have any tips for people on like how to just bring that attitude into life, because it's a really powerful way to move through the world, I think. But also how you, I guess, how do you then turn it organically, keeping it still so positive into partnerships like this? Because that can be the other thing. People might go into it trying to get something out of it, and I think that's the wrong way to do it, and leads to kind of like, how can you help me rather than how can I help you, and a more mutual thing.
Wow, I love this question. I'm just thinking about how deep should I go for the points, the positivity and
the positivity, the networking, and then how that leads to like brand deals, because there is a business benefit in there, but it's like how the natural, like how you are basically can lead to these things, because I think we assume that you're not going in trying to get something out of people, but you do whatever you do, and that leads to these kinds of things. So it's like this 2-part question probably about your personality and your general like view on all of this, and then the partnership question that like Daniele had. So
I would say ignore my question and just answer Daniele.
Yeah, Daniele, I think.
Answer their question, because as I'm sure your answer will really kind of reflect out of that, because it's just the way you are.
Man, at first I'm taking this compliment. Thank you so much. It was definitely a long path for this character, but for me, authenticity and honesty was always the highest thing. Always the highest thing. And regarding community and the smile, I will just go shortly. My past wasn't the best. Like immigrant family, we were coming to Germany. We weren't very welcome in Germany, and it was not so good time. But through this time, I had to learn from this pain, to navigate through this world. And for me, there is always love. It's not even something spiritual, or I'm just grateful every day that I'm alive. There were many situations where I shouldn't be here, and I'm just so grateful that I can still make music. I'm making music since I'm 11, and this community of musicians always helped me. We were writing songs, we could express our feelings in such a young age. Not many people can do this, and writing lyrics, what moves you. And when I had something, people always took time to listen to problems, to give some advice. And I just grew up in a music community like this, where everybody was honest. And after a while, you have a kind of intuition. Where does it connect with a person? So when we are talking about brands, I'm not looking at the brand. Like all the partnerships I have now, it just came out from friendship because I just like the guy. And then, Nate from Kali. Now we went to Mexico and I'm sleeping in his house. He's coming to Germany now next week, and we're going to hang out. This is beautiful. How I found the brands, and I don't want to make a secret out of it, it was through connections. And because I got the connections, I love to connect as well. Because I know how beautiful it is, because very nice things can happen through it. So it happened before we went to Morocco. I was writing over 80 emails to every company. Hey, maybe you want to sponsor our project. I'm very young and I try to do this and that and try to save the world, And of course, I didn't got any reply.
Yeah.
And then I just did it anyway.
Sorry to interrupt, but that was not the recording school. This was the first trip to Morocco where you stayed with the band for 2 months in the Sahara Desert and recorded this project and all that, right?
Yeah, this was 2018 and then 2019. 2018 was the first trip. 2019 was the long trip for 2 years. And I didn't got any reply. It was nothing. The first person who found us was Warren Hewitt, because I started to make my Instagram and he found one of our videos and he called me via Skype and asked, how can we work together? I love what you're doing.
So amazing.
And I want to connect you with, for example, it started with, you should know Valerie from Lewitt. And I was so excited. I'm like, man, I have so crappy mics. This would be the only thing that I really need, to have like better microphones. The rest, I can figure out. Talk with Valerie. Now we are best friends since 4 years now or 5 years, just writing, and they were always supporting us. This was the first company that sent us a big package with microphones, whatever we wanted. I didn't choose the most expensive mics because I knew I don't need them. Wrote it all in the email. And she liked it. She liked this attitude because I don't want to host, or not host, but I don't want to have too much stuff around me. For me, this branding deals, why do I need 5 or 6 speakers now? For what? Of course, technically it's very interesting and so on, but I have now one speaker company I work with. Now more and more companies write to me. And of course, from one side, from the business side, I could say, hey, send me $1,000, send me the speakers and I test them. But I would go crazy if I would have now 6 speakers in this tiny place already. And I couldn't move, and then I had also brand deals where I didn't resonate with the people who asked me. Couple of microphone companies, and my intuition said, no, don't do it. It doesn't matter if I have this name now under my project or not. I will not use this mic. It would be a pity, if nobody else could use it. So this is my mindset when I meet somebody. Does it resonate? Like Audient guys, the Audient guys, they're amazing.
Yeah,
I love these guys. And later I connected Audient also with Kali Audio. And then we transformed Kali Audio's office into a record studio and recorded the Armenian band there. And this is this kind of creative partnerships and connections that I'm looking for, that we do something together and not just another video. Hey, I love this mic. It's so awesome, It doesn't, I understand it, and it's good when it's like a very technical and nice review. But in general, I'm not like a gear guy who makes so much advertising with these brands. So all the brands I'm working with, I have a really good pair of headphones now with Olo Audio. And this is another thing I want to share. Just write to them later. When you have something interesting, let's say, I was lucky also. because I was traveling. I was in Morocco, something interesting that they can share also that they are interested in. And I explained them the philosophy behind our project, that we are supporting bands. So the brands were more likely to support us, to work with us closer, or they were interested. I don't know how it is when you're in your home studio, for example, just say, hey, give me stuff. Or, hey, can I test them,
Yeah, but I wouldn't say that you were just lucky because, like, you went to Morocco and helped these people, like, make records and did all these things. So it's not really lucky. You gave first and then got something in return, I think. And
that's true, yeah.
So, that's I think where this question also comes from, because people often wonder, how do I get to do these kinds of deals? How can I get something, basically? Or what do I have to do so I can get? And in your case, I think it really is, you try to come up with creative ideas. You try to do something first and create something first, give something first. Then, of course, you also need to reach out and ask. Like, it's not just giving without asking. You also give, and you have you also ask. So you have to have the confidence and be bold enough to also contact people. But I think you got to do something first. And if you're, quote unquote, just another home studio doing what everybody else does, maybe that's not enough to get their attention. Maybe you need to do something remarkable or something that, first without trying to get something out of it. And then you can take that and go and ask, maybe, I don't know. And also the thing is, you are traveling a lot and you make an effort to meet people, right? Because you said it's the people first and then their companies. So you partner with, on a personal level first, you make friends. And then if they happen to have a cool company, you can work together, but it's the people first, not the brand first, basically. It's how I got this. So, so this all makes sense to me. Like, but just to answer the question fully, what are you doing basically in return for what are the companies getting out of this? Is it the content that you're creating together on your YouTube channel, or is it just the fact that they like it? But I assume, at the end of the day, it's all businesses, so they want to have some sort of return, I guess.
Exactly. This is also very important that you later deliver when you get something. And I love always how you summarize when I'm talking and trying to find the sense. You're perfect in summarizing my answers. And
sorry, I love that. You explained it perfectly well. When I summarize, I just want to make sure that I understood it correctly. Basically, that's what I'm trying to say.
So it's definitely the creative part. So be creative, find something that you like and that is not out there yet. Yeah, from the content. Don't make another compressor video, for example. Like, how does a compressor work? Because there are so many of those. But maybe you can find something else. Be creative. And this is the beautiful part on our technical job as a mixing engineer or as a producer. And in return, for example, there are companies really who just wanted to support our project. They didn't expect anything in return. But for example, with Audient and Kali, they asked me, hey, do you want to transform this office? Yeah, of course. And there was no monetary value because I got the full studio from them. When I'm just looking here, this is all in a way sponsored, what I'm having here, so I can make my daily job. So with them, there is no monetary value. There are companies where I'm getting, like, I will not tell a price, but where I'm getting some money when I'm making some advertising. It's not many of them because, again, I'm not so interested into it, but some will offer you also something in return because it's a lot of work, to get the camera, cut it, color grade it. You have to learn many, many more skills than that.
It's immense.
But mainly it's content, and on the other side also they value that, A, our friendship, B, that I'm connecting them with other people, with other companies, so they already have another big monetary value back alone from these connections.
Yeah, I was about to say there is actually a monetary return, a direct return. Just like even if you just look at our case, like you introduced me to the Kali people. I knew about the brand, but I haven't used it before. Then I went to their headquarters, tested a couple of monitors. They got me some like T-shirts and hats and whatnot, and they were super nice people, awesome, love them. And the first thing I did when I got home is I bought a pair of their speakers for our B room, and so they got it right. So that was the return, and then. After having heard them in my environment here, and Thomas is loving them, he's working on them every day here. I started recommending them to our students because now I know from my own experience that they are actually great and that they are affordable but still great. So the perfect combination for the DIY people that we teach. So I've recommended them a couple of times, and now more people bought it because of my recommendation. So I guess they have sold 10 pairs of speakers at this point just because of the fact that you introduced me to them. So
yeah, exactly. And I'm having the same thing. I think until now I sold over 60 Lewitt mics via Instagram because people just write me, which mic should I get?
Yeah.
I say, hey, honestly, I have this one. I am affiliate with them. I am a friend of them, but I just love them, test them out and see if you can buy it. So I sold over 60 Lewitt mics. I sold over 12 pairs of Kalis. I sold a couple of Evo 16s from Audient. And I made even remote support for one friend. So, it's always an exchange. I think sooner or later, everybody is gaining, everybody is happy, and I think look for this win-win if you want to work with a company and do it from the heart. Like if something doesn't feel right, it won't turn out right later. Yeah. Just when it resonates, it's the best. You just have flow and you love to connect the people, when it's just flowing.
Yeah.
It's a hell yes or it's a no. That's the saying always.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally. It's exactly that. Yeah. If you don't connect with the person, you can't see yourself being friends with who you're communicating with. Like, just don't try and engage with the company. It's not going to be a fit for either of you. I think that's very wise.
Exactly. And one last thing: don't start to buy followers or do anything like that, because this is people will see your engagement rate. They will see, oh, he have 20,000 followers, but 2 comments. Just believe in yourself and your own authenticity, because when you find what makes you unique, then you will be attractive to the rest of the people with your strength. Yeah. You don't have to copy somebody. Just be yourself. No. Then you will find the right idea, and then reach out to the people, to the companies that definitely resonate with you. And if you show up, this is also something. I'm always on expo fairs. You will find me everywhere. Like when I see, there's Studioszene, I'm trying to get in contact with the people, with the organizer, with whoever. And just, like with Mark, I was offering him, hey, just in case I have my presentation here, if you need me, I'm there, And now I'm visiting him even privately, always when I'm driving to Cologne and just talking, having a coffee. And it's just, my community, just the music community. And this is the last thing that I want to share. Often I see artists put themselves lower than the companies. They're like, oh, maybe one day I can work with them. Maybe they will notice me or whatever. Eye to eye, eye to eye. You have the same right. You can talk with them. You can say also if something doesn't resonate, be honest again. You say, maybe not a fit. Yeah. Or you say, hey, I have some good ideas. These are my skills. I can do this and that. And make a good elevator pitch. 1 sentence.
Yeah. I want to add to this because that's so important you mentioned this, because I was so afraid to reach out to respond even when they reached out to me, to companies when I was starting out, because I had no big audience, and I was like, I had this typical imposter syndrome thing, and I was exactly like you said, I was looking up to these companies and thought I was not worthy of their sponsorship or whatever. And then, I know, unfortunately, there are people who then kind of fake numbers and tell them the sizes of audiences that don't even exist, stuff like this. And I was just honest, and I thought that I was never going to get anything because of how small I was. But I got my first brand deals and like free interfaces and headphones and stuff like that with an email size of, like at the time, I think it was 1,500 people, email list size, which is nothing, right? 1,500 people is like, you can really do that if you put some effort behind it. And like, I thought I would have to have like 10,000 plus or whatever. And now obviously it's easier for me and people reach out to me. But like I got my first small partnerships and deals when I was just starting out. And that was fascinating and mind-blowing to me, because apparently it was not just the size of the audience that they were looking at. They were looking at other things too, like the personal, connection, and just the fact like I got all of these things because I bought those things myself first. I recommended it to other people. I had proof that I had sold a couple of their things already, even though my audience was small. So my engagement rate and like actual conversion rates were high. And it was authentic because it was stuff I was already using. And that meant more to them than a massive audience size, And so that kind of cured my imposter syndrome, at least in that area, pretty quickly, because I realized, wow, I don't have to be a superstar to partner with these companies.
I love that. This is the best input, really.
Yeah,
just try it out.
Right.
Yeah, just go out there, and you have to do something. You have to send this mail out, and even if it looks small for you, there is a value for the companies. And man, I'm still thinking if I should say this. I would say it. Never forget, when there is a price on the website, this is not the full price the company is paying for this product.
Of course, yeah.
And so maybe it can look like, oh, I get the €1,000 interface, but maybe it just costs 160. So they prefer to just give it to you. And you, even for $160, it's like one advertising. Like some people you have to pay for a real $180 from a professional company that they film it and cut it and everything. So, what I hope this can help with the mindset that you think also you're not begging for $1,000, but you're begging maybe for something that is a fifth of the price that you think. So just try to reach out.
Yeah. And obviously, again, you're doing something, you're giving first and you're providing value and you're not just trying to get something. This is always important in all of this, but you're totally right. And if it doesn't work out, and even if you try and and it doesn't work out, then at least you might get feedback and learn why it doesn't work, and then you can improve. So just,
Exactly, man.
All right, cool. Awesome. Next question is from Chuck. He says, and this is now we're getting into the more technical things. Interesting question here. He says, in modern heavy music, like metal or even polished modern rock, we always carefully set up the instruments and make sure everything is perfectly in tune. Slightly out-of-tune guitars can be a big problem and sound distracting and amateur. But we also have the tools to do that and can adjust guitars very precisely, not to mention things like Evertune bridges now. How do you do that with more traditional acoustic instruments? And I get that it doesn't have to be as perfect, but it still needs to work. How do you deal with intonation issues with older traditional acoustic instruments that maybe are not perfectly in tune all the time? It's a great question.
I love this question. I love this question. And you're absolutely right. In this rock genres, it have to be perfect. And luckily, I discovered now Melodyne with the polyphonic function. So lately, I just
crazy,
tuned,
right? What you can do. Yeah.
So with the polyphonic function, you can retune the guitars. In traditional music, this was my first lesson that I learned, because one of the instruments, like the gambri, it didn't sound in tune with all the other instruments. So I said to them, like, something sounds weird. So the whole band went in panic, like, oh my God, what sounds weird? For me, it was the intonation, but for them, they thought there was some technical issue. So we were like just talking in cycles about, two different things for 30 minutes until I realized, oh my God, this is how they grew up with their music.
Yeah.
So there is a completely different perception of scales, of intonation, of what sounds right, what sounds wrong. So for our European ear, where everything is tuned 440 hertz, of course, in orchestral music, it would be a disaster if you put like a gambri there that is not tuned to 440 hertz. But in traditional music, this is actually the spice, the character that fits in there. There are sometimes even, like sharp 11 notes that are in where I'm like, cringing. Yeah. Like in Congolese music, I just learned some traditional Congolese music, for example. There's one note where I'm like, why is it in there? It gives me some, it takes me the piece out because I'm like, this is not in scale, but they're singing to it. And later when the other instruments come, it all makes sense. And this is just the special spice. Yeah. I hope this answers the question.
You don't fight it, you embrace it, basically. So you don't even try, like there's no such thing as like setting these instruments up precisely like we do. You just embrace it and learn that like what it's supposed to be like and try to understand how they perceive it, right?
For really traditional instruments, yes. The cool thing is, just to keep it authentic. Yeah, especially also when you have drums and so on. It's not so fine-tuned. They are tuned anyway because they know which timbre they want. When there is a percussion ensemble, for example, there is the solo percussion that is just the highest. It's tuned in the strongest way, so it can cut through all the other drums. Let's say West African percussion, because I just read 15 books about it and play it. And you have like 3 different sized bass drums and they are tuned to each other. And actually, when you listen closely to it, when they are playing their polyrhythms, you will hear a melody line through it. Like I could play this melody line on the guitar later. So in a sense, they are tuned, but they are not so fine-tuned like guitars in heavy metal. There you would notice it more if you would put the traditional instrument into a heavy metal production. Then you would have to really fine-tune it. And for this case, they have now, for example, African instruments like the kora. It's like African harp. I have one here. Here it is. It's like this. Very beautiful.
Head to YouTube to check this out, listeners, if you want to see this. This is a very amazing looking instrument.
It's from Senegal. Unfortunately, it's not really for playing, but here you can see this is the old system. They had like leather stripes and you tune it with a nail. So you just hit the nail so the string is straight, and then you have to correct the bridge. Yeah. But now, of course, they made these instruments with tuning mechanisms, because every culture, if it's in Senegal or is it even in Guinea or in Ghana, when they play this instrument, more Gambia, there's Sonia Jobare is from there. Now they have like tuning systems there, so they're in tune with other bands, with other musicians, because this music is now very big in jazz, for example. So they have to be in tune.
Yeah.
I can talk hours about this topic, guys.
So, this is so fascinating, but this also requires a whole other level of like ear training and basically like musical skills, right? It's like because it's all tuned by ear, and I assume like that there's also like everywhere there are people who can do it better and people who can do it not as well, and so it depends a lot on like the skills of the musicians, I guess, right?
Yeah, but they're very skillful. Like if you go to Africa, you can imagine that when there is a musician and he's making a living from it, he's playing from morning till night or morning till morning. So this is not an issue. Like skills is the last issue when I'm in Africa and recording there. They're very skillful and they very adaptive because they are always playing with other people and different versions of different songs. What I learned through it is to relax a little bit more. To not be like, oh, I have to be like this. Oh, it's not in tune. It's not this. It's not that. It's not on time 100%, you know. I'm like, hey, now I can hear a groove there. Here, maybe I can make a little edit, like a small cut. And we do it also in this world music thing. But mainly, once I record them, the performances are so tight that I'm just, man, it's okay. It's good.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Great answer to this question. Thank you. Next question is from Hazel. And the question is, how much time do you spend at the source versus in the mix? If it is a location where you've worked at, will you just put people somewhere and just throw some microphones up and quickly record because you can't trust the room and the monitoring anyway? So you'll have to figure it all out when you get back to your studio? Or do you spend a lot of time figuring out how the room sounds, where the best spots are, which mics to pick, where to position them, etc.? Also, interesting question.
I love this question. Everything starts in tracking. At first, even pre-production, I check the composition. When we have the time, I check if the composition is right. If there is any low-end clashing, if something feels funny already in the demo, then I give some arrangement tips or take something out or talk with the band. This is number one, pre-production. Then when we are recording, I choose exactly the right mics. There is a nice video from Audient, how we transform this office. Kali Audio, you just write into YouTube, Audient location recording. And there I'm sharing a lot of tips, what I'm looking for, how I position the band, where I position the band in the room. I ask the band, how much room sound do you want? Or do you want close miking, for example? And I have a list in advance, which instruments we're going to record. So if it's a record studio or office or wherever I'm doing it in a mud house, in a clay house in Morocco or wherever, I always know which instruments in advance, and I'm planning ahead. Like, this is this frequency range, so I should take this and this mic, packing it with me. And then I'm always checking for phase, because often when you hear my multi-tracks, it sounds already like the song. So I try to use as little EQ as possible, as little compression as possible, and definitely always checking for phase. I don't want to fix something later in the mix, especially phasing issues. It's difficult, and you will never get the recording, the result that the band deserve, especially when they are playing live. So there's a lot of thought into recording. We had this band Bondeco. They came from America to Albania. We rented a villa in Albania and transformed this villa. I was driving 1,500 kilometers with my van. And I never saw this place. We had 7 days to make the record, you know, and there was a lot of reverb and different dynamics of the instruments. So I had to see, where do I position them? We have a very loud djembe. We had the accordion and the acoustic guitar and 2 vocals. I thought, damn, the djembe is super loud. So I had to see where is the ceiling the lowest to avoid low-end build-up, and had to position them differently in this villa until I had the right sound and in phase. And this took me a half day. But then they were super happy with it.
Awesome. Great answer to this question. So you do spend the time in advance and at the source rather than just capturing something and trying to figure it out later. Right?
This is the worst attitude, really. You will not make I did it once with this video with Underlicious. But I just didn't know how to record. I just had the mics with me and recorded the orchestra with instruments I didn't know. And I thought, this looks nice. So I just put them like how they look nice, the mics. It was terrible because one tip, if you want to record, if you use more mics, use the mics like EQ. Because when you have 8 mics, but they capture all the same frequency range, you will not go far with it. Then you have to cut and see and create a puzzle out of a full picture already. But I see these microphones as puzzle pieces. So I'm always having a couple of room mics and then adding stuff. Like if I want more definition, I'm just bringing in the close mics later. Mixing is way faster and easier, but you will not find the tutorial how it works on YouTube.
Yeah.
This is the only minus because, I have a couple of tutorials out now, of course, and also from other productions, but this is like more, I found a different way to just get the overall picture as good as possible and then just bring it in a little bit to have more definition.
I want to point out for our audience how different this is than like the rock kind of style recording that Benny and I are usually talking about, where like in a modern DIY recording setup, they might not encounter tracking phase issues, period, through the whole process, because they could do MIDI drums, DI guitars, and then one vocal mic. That could be the only microphone on the record, right? Yeah. So phase, not a big consideration in those records. But when you're tracking a live band together, especially an acoustic instrument live band, like every mic you introduce is a potential phase disaster that could end up just ruining one instrument in this sound field that you're going to have. It's way more complicated and becomes your top priority. And then what Ady's talking about now, this like creating the picture with probably just a single pair of microphones is probably like 90% of that image, I would imagine. Ady? At least that's my experience doing. I've done some orchestras and theaters and stuff like that, symphony stuff, and it's like there's 2 mics that are that's the recording really, and then we've got these close mics that we bring in to reinforce. Maybe the cello, we need that low end in there. The piano maybe needs something closer. We're definitely going to have something on the violin so we can get those solos to pop a little bit more. But really, it's like this spaced pair in my case for this specific one in my head right now was like, if we didn't have that, there's no recording. It's so different than putting together a rock album.
Definitely.
Yeah. But some things still apply from what Ady says, though, with the puzzle pieces. I want to add to what you just said, Malcolm, because even if you do the overdub and all in the box thing, you can still think of it like that. You can still be like, okay, I know that my vocal, which I'm going to record with the microphone, that maybe it's an aggressive vocal that needs a very clear upper mid-range that needs to cut through the mix so that you can actually hear the words. That means I might not pick a guitar sim, like an amp sim or a guitar tone that is present in the exact same area. I might pick one that is maybe a little more, has more lower mid-range, is a little thicker, or, you can build around that, and then you can be like, okay, where does the top end of my guitar sound end, and when there is room like for cymbals, and, what's the tuning of my bass guitar, and how does that work with the kick drum? So you can still think like this puzzle, even though it's overdubs, and you can still intentionally choose sounds at the source, which will again make your mixing so much easier, even though it's not a live recording. And same principle applies, but you're totally right. It's like the phase nightmare that you get with a couple of mics, and that's a whole different story, of course, when you record live. But I think it's totally beneficial to have this kind of knowledge, like to experiment and know what your mic sounds like, what the source tones are like, and build and try to build the arrangement and the recording like that, instead of capturing everything full range and then trying to figure it out later in the mix. I think it's much better to be intentional and to have a vibe and a vision right away. And I would much rather make an exciting, unique record where someone made bold decisions, even some of them might be a little wrong or whatever, but I'd much rather do that as a mixing engineer than trying to create something exciting from something that's very generic, in the recording. So
I love that. And to this, when I'm having like pop productions or rock productions or something else, I'm still taking a lot of time with the microphones. Like I had this artist in London, Lala Nushka. She's making like incredible pop. I hope the songs come out soon. And we were checking all the mics that were there. We had like 5 vocal mics until we found the right one. And it wasn't the U87. It was, of course, because of the name, it's like, yeah, we should use this one. But it was too dark on her voice still. So I don't wanted to cut it out. And then I checked, there was a drum set in the corner. I'm like, why is he having a tube mic on the kick? All right, let's try this out. And the Rode, I think it's NT. I forgot the model of it.
Yeah.
But this mic was perfect on her vocals. Absolutely perfect. It just captured the full range. The same with Odelia. We had another mic, like I think AEA ribbon mic at the beginning. And we weren't so happy about it. And we borrowed the Neumann to check it out. And it was too thin. It was more for pop vocals. And at the end, we chose the Lewitt Pure Tube because she could move there. There are so many factors, because it's a little bit wider with the capsule. So she could move also when she sings. Still, you can't hear the movement. And it was just warm and captured exactly what we needed. So this was, for me, it's always so fascinating. Every session is different. But anyway, whatever session I do, if it's like in the Sahara Desert or in a professional studio, always checking a couple of mics to get the right sound. And awesome. I understand if you get paid per hour, for example, people say like, hey, come on, hurry up. But then you can just calm down, tell them this is very important. Otherwise, you will pay way more when I have to fix it in the mix. So let's have some fun. Make a fun thing out of it. For me, it's nice if I'm going to a studio, I'm like, whoa, so many mics, let's check them out. But then really, do it quick, set them up, let her sing the same line or him, and then decide quickly like which one is the best.
Yeah, and maybe do some of the experimenting on your own time outside of the paid sessions, so you learn about your mics, you learn about the stuff, so that you can make quicker decisions in the session. So maybe don't use the artist's time for experimentation so much. Mm-hmm. There's always room for that, but like you can always use your own time to learn and then apply that knowledge in the session quickly.
Exactly. This is what many engineers did, and I did it also when I went to a studio. I asked the studio if I can book 1 hour on my own earlier, just to test a couple of mics or get used to the studio. So you don't have to figure out so much things. Maybe you pay like $40 earlier, but it will pay out later.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's such a good tip. Often, in my experience, a lot of studios, like when I was getting hired to go engineer and produce bands, and we were renting an external studio, I would just hit up the owner and be like, "Do you mind if I come in and orientate myself?" Yeah. And they're like, "Yes." They like totally for free would let me come in the night before, look around, figure out the routing, just so I wasn't having to troubleshoot with the client there the next day. They were like, "That's less questions for me. I'm less worried about disasters." And so it's always worth reaching out. They might just let you in to have a look without charging you.
That's so cool.
And also talk to the artists or the staff at the studio, whoever you're recording with. Maybe the artist that you're traveling to record at their jam space, maybe they already know a lot. Sorry. Maybe they already know a lot about their room and about they usually set up, and that teaches you a lot. Maybe you can also trust them because they've spent a lot of time in the room, and maybe they already know that the drum kit is best over there and that they always set up things like that. And before you spend hours trying to figure it out, maybe just ask them, and that might be actually the solution. Or like if it's a genre that you're not really used to, maybe they have already figured it out how they sound the best together as a band. Or if you go to an external studio, they've probably set up, things in different in different spots and can, make the process quicker. So just don't think that you know better and have to figure it out. Now, there's probably people before you in this room who already figured it out.
Yeah, you can learn so much. We went to East-West Studios, and then the guy said, "Just stand here." And he was clapping, and he said, "This is the reverb from Dave Grohl, Green Day, and all the drums that have been recorded here. I made over 1,000 drums here, so this is the best spot." I'm like, man, mind-blowing. Like, now you can hear this room on all these records, Once you've been there and you hear this reverb, and this is crazy because you can learn again also so much things when you're just asking.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Love this. Thank you. So next question is from Mark, and he says, actually, similar question. When you record, or not, like at least it's about recording and setting a band up and everything. Mm-hmm. When you record an acoustic band live, or say a singer-songwriter duo or something, are you trying to achieve maximum separation, or are you embracing the bleed and let all the mics capture a little bit of everything? I mean, they'll capture everything anyway, but the louder the bleed, the more careful you have to be with EQ, compression, etc., because everything will affect everything. What's your approach and philosophy there?
It depends on the artist. So when I made the TV show in Amsterdam, the artist wanted to have the option on the piano later to tune the voice if possible. If there is anything not working out.
Which would put the piano out of tune.
Yeah, or the piano's out of tune. We had
which would put the piano out of tune if you tune the vocals after the fact. That's probably the issue, right?
Also, exactly. This issue we had now because we recorded in the UK. Like, I think the video will come out tomorrow. piano and vocals at the same time, but the piano was 150 years old, so it was a little bit out of tune. And I had to get like a maximum separation, once with, of course, the mic placement, which microphone we used, and where I put the mic for the piano. There, I was lucky to have tools like, for example, Isotope RX11 to just get a little bit out of the voice, a little bit voice out of the piano and a little bit piano out of the voice. So I could tune both. I could tune the piano and the voice because the piano was out of tune, her voice was also not 100% in tune. This was one of the cases where I needed maximum separation because it was discussed earlier with the artist. There are some artists that say, no, I want this authentic session, just put one mic there in the middle, and this is absolutely fine. And I think this is the main thing, just communicate with the artist what they want. And if they want separation, I have like a bunch of techniques in my head. So when I had this piano recording in Amsterdam, I had to put the condenser mics very close to the piano. And for her voice, she was singing so loud. And I switched to a small condenser, which is not usual, but still we could capture the full range. And I still had almost no piano there. So we had the perfect separation to tune a little bit afterwards and fine tune it.
Awesome, thank you. And like in cases where it's inevitable and where there's definitely going to be a lot of bleed, you just go back to the puzzle thing, right? Where you embrace the fact that the sound will be a mix of both of those mics, and you have to position them so that everything works, right? I guess. So like I did a workshop last week, for example, a live in-person workshop, and they asked me how I would approach recording like a singer-songwriter thing, an acoustic guitar and singing at the same time. And then I put up two mics, one for the guitar, one for the vocals, and then we made sure that both of them sounded great. But then I was like, now we have a great guitar sound and we have a great vocal sound, but it doesn't really matter because what matters is if I turn them both on, how does it sound overall? So it might mean we have to compromise one or the other a little bit, or like move mics because the guitar will sound differently once I unmute the vocal mic and vice versa. And so what would have been the best spot for the individual things was not the best spot for the total like recording. And so I moved mics a little bit until the sum of the two mics was exactly what I needed. And I think that's, I don't know if you approach it the same way, but to me, it's like at the end of the day, the thing matters and not the individual mics. And in some cases like this, there's always going to be a lot of vocal in the guitar mic and vice versa.
Exactly, man. You said it all. I mean, one more tip that I can give is work with mic patterns. Know your microphones because you can use 2 figure-8 mics. And
totally, that's one of my favorites. Yeah, explain it please. What do you mean there?
Yeah, we did it at Lewitt. I went to their studio and we made one shout out, I think, with the 441 flags. So we had like the figure-8 and just wanted to see how much it takes out of the voice. So we had the very loud vocalist. He had a very strong voice, and with the right positioning, you can put one mic. For everybody who is new, for example, the figure-8 mic, it cancels out the sound from the side. So it takes from the back and from the front, but the side is canceled out. So you can use one side only for the voice and put it over the acoustic guitar. So it should theoretically cancel out the acoustic guitar and get maximum of your voice. And vice versa, you do it for the guitar mic and then put them together, hopefully in phase, and everything will work fine.
It's pretty remarkable how well it can work. I think people that haven't got to try a couple figure-8 mics might be totally surprised at how much rejection that gives you, even though it's so close to the other source.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's one of my favorites. When I discovered that one, it was like mind-blowing. The same thing with like drum overheads. If you put 2 figure-8 mics as drum overheads, like ribbons or something, and you point the null to the opposite side of the kit, it's crazy how wide the image can get because it basically rejects the opposite side of the kit so much that you can get a super wide like drum image if you want that. But it was kind of mind-blowing how well that works. Like,
gotta try it out. Oh, I love these talks, man. This is so good.
It's so awesome. Anytime I struggle where I want to have the hi-hat clearly more like on one side and I want a wide image with like wide tom fills and everything, using 2 figure-8s and pointing the null at the hi-hat and the other null at the floor tom basically gives me such a wide, clear image. There's going to be some, the wider it gets, there's always going to be, some sacrifice. But like if width is like the goal and separation is the goal, it's awesome. Yeah.
Fantastic. I think we answered the question, right?
Yeah, cool. Yeah,
I think so.
Awesome, man. The next one is from Manel. That's the final one we got here. Manel asks, how do you... and by the way, Manel will probably be at Manel, if you don't come there, like, sorry for me like saying this, but I think he will be at Studioszene, he told me. So we'll maybe meet in person. Manel says, how do you plan the budget for those recording trips? How do you plan the actual trips? And is there a lot of improvisation? Like... Yeah.
At first, when you see me at Studioszene, hit me up. Definitely, I'm approachable. We can talk. Yeah. I always have to see where I'm going. Now, when I'm going to Morocco, also I got many projects, many artists asking like, hey, can we record for 3 days, 4 days? So, of course, in my proposal, they have to take over the transportation cost for a studio. You have to understand the project. Do they need external musicians or not? What's the time frame? And then you can see if you work with daily rates or hourly rates, and how many songs. This is also important. You can see if you can make some % off when they want to make a full album, for example. And these are the costs. Accommodation is a cost. Food is a cost. This is what I learned in London. Because I forgot to put it in my proposal and I almost broke.
Yeah.
This was, I'm like, oh man, I have to take public transport every morning and then get my food 3 times per day. All right. These are big costs that you should never forget, that when you are in another country, that this is covered. Yeah. That you have a place to sleep and so on. Because I'm making the effort to go somewhere. I'm not by my family, I'm not by my friends, and just living together. This is very important. Yeah, the place, for example, when we wanted to record in Albania, we checked Airbnbs and then found the best one from the size and the price. So you can do a lot of things also together with the artist and offer your help. Even if especially when they want to do this project, it will happen. Just do a little research for this. For example, I have one artist, he always needs a drummer, but he don't have a lot of budget. He's working mainly with the ukulele and his voice, and is just doing it for a hobby. So I had to find a more like a cheaper drummer on Fiverr that is more than sufficient, because he don't want to go to the charts, he don't want to go to the Billboard. So understand also the project.
It's interesting to hear all that, because a lot of people, myself included, think, and I thought that for a long time too, that apparently it's completely wrong, but like that in some countries you don't expect people to have actual record budgets. It's like it sounds weird, but it's like what many people think. And so even when I see people advertise online or reach out to people, they exclude certain countries out of principle because they think there's nobody going to be able to pay for that anyways. But you just you're showing that it's possible, and it's like you can find amazing musicians everywhere who are also able and willing to pay for this. And of course, it might not be the same rates as like somewhere else. I don't know what you're charging, and it's like, but it's possible to make it work for everybody at the end. That's the thing. It's possible for you to stay there for a while and have a place to sleep and have something to eat. It's possible for you to make a record with an artist, and it's possible for them to afford all of that. Yeah. And there's always a solution, right? So
people will
if you want to do the traveling thing, I think it's one of those things where you have to try and not rule it out from the beginning, right?
Exactly, because people need to understand, when does somebody spend money? When do they spend money? When they understand what they get. So many, when you're saying like, we're going to mix your song, will sound great. Do you want to give a lot of money to this guy? Yeah. It's like, offer something. Say, why is it more expensive? Today also I closed another deal today. I just sent the proposal out 2 days ago, and the artist wrote me, for this money in my country, I get 2 mixes. I said, yeah, but with your backstory, because I'm talking with the people, we are on call, I know the backstory. Why do they want another mixing engineer? So listen to the people, listen to the needs, and then explain them why you are the best fit or why you are not the best fit. It's also very important. Authenticity, again. Yes. It's not about having everybody there. It's about that you have people that you will make happy, that you will be also happy with working with. And I really liked her music. I would love to work with her. So I took the time, listen. And she had some trouble with the other engineer. She didn't like the mix, but still have to release it. So I said, okay, by me it's more expensive, but we have also more time. So I can focus more on your project. This is why you pay more, because this guy is probably busy. Maybe he have now 20 of these low budget projects, and now he's just overworked and he can't listen to your needs anymore and just say it's ready, it's professional, trust me, you know. So this is the experience what you paid for, and if you want a better experience and will be very happy without any drama or, you know, back and forth, then you call me. Maybe you have to save a little bit more. And she said, no, you know what? I have the money. Before she said she don't have it, but now she have it. Just a message later. And this is the thing. I had to learn the lesson, especially in the van. When I started this business, many people told me, oh, I don't have money, I don't have a budget. Email sent by the latest iPhone. So this tells me somebody have another priority. It's not that they don't have the money, but they have another priority. So I had to learn to understand what they need, what they want, and then explain them, then this is what I can give you, or this is not this is something that I can give you not. You will not sit with me in the van and mix it together. I can't give you this experience, but if you're happy with a remote production, absolutely. Yeah. And this helped me to really move forward. And
cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. And how do you plan all the stuff, you know, that needs to happen while you're there outside of making the record? I assume when you travel somewhere to make a record with people and you live there for a while, life just doesn't stop suddenly, right? You still have maybe personal things you need to take care of. You have email to do. You have your content, your team, other things in your life you need to do. Like you can't just pause everything else for a couple of weeks. I think maybe you can. I don't know. No. But like, how do you plan that side of things? Because honestly, that's the hardest part for me every single time. Like even the 3 weeks in the US earlier this year with perfect Wi-Fi and everything, I went to NAM and then to Arkansas to produce a record. Everything else is so much harder for me to keep up with when I'm out, like when I'm outside of my usual, you know, home and studio and everything. It's like I'm always struggling to keep up with email and all the daily things that I need to do. Like, how do you do that, especially in remote areas?
Yeah, I do. I have 2 spots per day, one in the morning before I start working with the band, and then one in the evening. After we record, I tell the band, I need 30 minutes now. Check all my messages, do all the stuff, 30 minutes to 1 hour. And it just became a habit. Because otherwise I forgot things, I didn't do things, and then I let go of them. But it's just a discipline, you know, I wake up at 6. No artist I ever worked with wakes up at 6. So
that's a good tip. If you want time for yourself, wake up early. Nobody else is.
I remember Malcolm doing our podcast before the band woke up when you were in sessions with bands. Like it always worked. Nobody was around.
Yeah.
This is so cool, man.
Okay, but it's also about boundaries then, right? Because you got to be able to tell the artist that, hey, these things don't stop. I need to do them, and you got to, you know, have a conversation with them and have these boundaries in place as well. Because a lot of artists and like engineers also let everyone else just walk over them and like, you know, dictate their schedule. And so I think it's important to also just communicate that and be clear that you need some time for yourself in the mornings or evenings.
Yeah, exactly. And I even tell them like, hey, if you like, you can watch how I make my social media. And maybe get some tips from there, you know, just you can even involve them. It's no issue with that, but I communicate clearly. And I think it's important when they book me for 10 hours. Then, you know, in the morning I do my email stuff, my private stuff. For me, I'm very clear with this. Like now I'm doing private things. Now we're having breakfast, but now we are working 10 hours. This means nobody else can reach me. You can't just call me and like, hey, I would love to have a mix. Then I say, just leave a message and I call you back or send the email. But then the email will get answered in the evening. This is very important because you don't want to sit in a session where somebody pays you, I don't know, $80 per hour, and then you're on the phone and just trying to find new clients. But this is this is why you have higher rates to afford the focus only on this artist. And this will improve everything. This will improve the quality, the friendship. You know, there is a reason that I have like only 5-star reviews. I'm working hard for this, you know, but these boundaries is important. It's very important for this. Otherwise, you get crazy. And then when you get crazy, everybody else gets crazy too.
Man, I love this so much because people tend to think it's this black or white thing. You can either be nice or you can be this like super good, like at business type of person, but you can be both. You can be good at business, have boundaries, make money, also be super kind and nice. And like everything you're saying there is just that I just love to hear that because it's not black and white. You can really do both and people won't be offended or whatever if you just have clear boundaries. I think they will respect you even more if you're doing it like that and you're intentional and you're doing what you say you're going to do and you have these routines. I think they even respect you more.
They will trust you more because when you show them already that you are breaking your own boundaries, they will see, like, for example, you're recording the band and then you just fix something quickly in the mix for another project. They think, will he do the same with us? Yeah. You don't want that thing. And I think this is a very big lesson, because I was also a very long time Mr. Sunshine, Mr. Nice Guy, and I couldn't communicate so well. This is why many things didn't work out, because I couldn't hold these promises, or I was in this tricky situation where I promised the one client, I'm going to fix your mix shortly in between this coffee break while recording this band. And then nobody was happy because I made a mistake with this one band where I quickly fixed something. And the other band thought I'm crazy and a workaholic, And since I'm just communicating clearly, I think honesty is the most kind thing we can do, because people will know immediately where they are at. And this means also if somebody is not resonating with you, instead of leaving the door open, you don't have to be a a-hole, just, we don't resonate, go. You just say, something is, it's not resonating, or hey, I just go this way.
Yeah. You can always, and maybe there's another person who would be a perfect fit, and then you can make a recommendation, and again, you have a win-win type of thing, right?
Exactly. You say like, hey, yeah, and this is what I'm doing, because I'm having a couple of other producers also, and somebody comes, I'm like, it's not my character type, because you need to understand also the best match is there is a producer and the artist, and some want a very involved producer who is guiding everything. Some want a very quiet mixing engineer who's just doing his thing the best way, and don't give any tips. There is the perfect match for everyone. And if you have more friends around you, you can just connect this artist again with this guy.
Cool. Love this. Thank you. And final part of this question, because he asked, is there still a lot of like improvising? I think sometimes, despite all the planning and the boundaries and the routines, that shit happens probably. Yeah. So, do you have room for that, or is like everything always working out perfectly?
No, never. Never. There are always some strange things happening, and it's just the way how you handle it. Because there is so much technical stuff. Some cable can break. You have some noise out there, or you have a hum or whatever, or somebody loses his guitar. Yesterday on the gig where I went, the guy just forgot his guitar in a hotel room in Belgium and just arrived today. These things, and he's a seasoned pro. He's doing it for 50 years.
Needed to bring.
Shit happens all the time, and I'm learning all the time through it. You learn to improvise. You learn to find workarounds to make a session work. Maybe you have some funny photos at the end or videos, even from this workaround. And the most important thing is just stay calm. When I was younger and in the studios, I was very nervous, that I make any mistake. And along this thought, when I made the mistake, I freaked out. I was sweating, and then I turn around, and then I hit the cup with the coffee, and then I made it even worse, and it just got worse and worse and worse. But since I'm just calming down, you're showing again like authority. You say, everything under control. Yeah, we just need 5 minutes. When it takes longer, hey guys, make a coffee break, figuring it out, fixing it, or finding a workaround so we can move on with the session. And if you feel some tension in the session, you can tell the guys like, hey, you don't have to pay for this 20 minutes. I will just put it on top after the session was my mistake. There are always solutions. Just communicate clearly.
Awesome. I love this, Ady. Thank you so much for all these answers.
Yeah,
Malcolm, is there anything you want to add to this? Any additional questions from your end? I think this was phenomenal.
No, this has been fantastic. Ady, thank you so much again for your time. It's great catching up as well. And I'm super excited to see you in Hamburg for Studioszene in October, I think it is this year, right?
Yep.
Doing that, late October. And maybe in LA in January as well. Are you going to be around there for NAMM?
Definitely. I should. Is it in January?
It's always
or is it in January or
I think
February?
it's February.
I can't remember.
Oh, it's February? Oh, sorry. I thought it was, yeah.
Oh, you shook me.
February.
Because I just signed a deal in Switzerland, and it's like 3 days before. I don't want to look.
Let me actually check. NAMM 2025. When is it going to be? It's January 21st to 25th.
Oops.
Oh, it is January.
End of January. Yep.
Okay, that's good. So see you in January, guys. no, at first in Hamburg and then in LA. Yeah. I'm very excited, and I wanted to say thank you for these incredible questions.
Yeah, thanks to our community.
Your community is amazing. Really, what you built there, put all the work there. This is episode 225 or how many you did? It's incredible.
Yep, 225.
Man. Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. And they love you too. Like you are one of the, I said it last time, like even the Studioszene interview that we used on our podcast then was one of those episodes where we got the most replies and emails and questions. And so they just love you. They just like, everything about you apparently. It's like,
man. Yeah. I'm feeling like home. Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, thank you. And also, again, thank you for the introductions. You are part of this platform as well because you've helped us bring new guests to the podcast. And I hope we can continue, support each other and create this, win-win collaboration for longer. So
I love it. Yeah. I love it.
Awesome. Really cool. So thank you. Thank you also for listening out there and for watching on YouTube. If you have any follow-up questions, as always, you can send them to us. We'll forward it to Ady, and we'll meet Ady at Studioszene. So there we might have the opportunity to ask a few more things. And I'm sure there will be whatever. Like it's not going to be the last thing we do together. I'm very sure.
Definitely.
Awesome.
Definitely. Looking forward to it.
Cool. All right.
And remember to go check out the link in the description to go hit up the fundraising for Ady's music school in Morocco.
Yeah, totally. Like I almost forgot. Thank you, Malcolm. So, Ady, is there one most important link that we should send people to, like your website or something?
It's the GoFundMe link, because now we're just looking for the SSD cards. They are very hard to find in Morocco, and we had a sponsor, but they jumped off. And when you can help us with that, this would be amazing. Because finding an SSD card, I found one after 1 year by accident in a Photoshop, because I had to make some documents and made a photo of myself. I'm like, is this a SSD card hanging there? External hard drive? I need it.
Yeah. So, okay, we put the GoFundMe link in the description. And if you're just listening and can't, read or whatever at the moment, just go to hittheroadmusicstudio.com, I think, because there you can definitely contact Ady. It's his website. You can check out some of his work, some of the YouTube videos, other podcasts you've been a guest on. You've been on like the big podcasts like Working Class Audio and Recording Studio Rockstars, our mutual friends, Matt Boudreau and blanking on the name.
Lit Shaw.
Help me. Lit Shaw, exactly. We've also met at NAMM. And so you've been on those podcasts and you've done some amazing work. So you can check all of that out at hittheroadmusicstudio.com. And all of that will be in the show notes.
Thank you for the shout out. And if you want to stay up to date, I'm every day on Instagram, and you can write me also questions and messages, or just forward them directly to Benedict and Malcolm. And I'm more than happy to answer questions. Really.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you, Ady.
See you next time.
See you.
Adios.
Bye-bye.